Hi, welcome back to the shop. We're getting a little snow here in New Jersey, so I thought I'd get some footage of a few of the outdoor tables that I've made over the past 2 years and give you an update on how those finishes are holding up. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the first table. That's the one that's closest to the barn here. It's made with sapele in the center of the table and red grandis on the sides. And that tabletop has held up the best for one simple reason, and that's because I rounded over the edge. I didn't really know about this at the time, I just rounded over the edge. But if you think about it, a sharp edge is going to be hard to build a finish up on, and that's where the finish will fail first. And that's what happened with the other two tables that I'll get to in a minute. So anyway, that tabletop has 4 or 5 coats of the Gleam Marine Spar Varnish by Total Boat. And you want to use the gloss. It's recommended to use, even if you want a satin finish, use gloss for at least the first 3 to 4 coats. Then you can use satin over top of the gloss. A little counterintuitive, but that's what the directions say. And I'm having good success, I think, with that finish. That tabletop was originally finished in June of 2022. This September, I gave it a quick sanding just with some 320 and gave it another coat of the Gleam Spar Varnish. And as you can see, it's still doing really well. I think you need to get into the habit of maintaining an outdoor finish. If you're going to have a clear finish on any wood furniture, you have to realize that you're going to probably give it another coat maybe once every year, at least every 2 years, but more than likely once every year. So that got another coat in September. It's doing good, and I'll probably give it another coat next September. The next project was the Japanese-inspired coffee table. That's a fun build, and it's made just with pocket hole screws. So if you're looking for a good project, I'll have a link to the plans right here. That table is made of natural mahogany, and the finish was doing really good, but it did fail at the ends. And that's because, again, it's just hard to build up a finish on a right angle. You have a nice sharp angle, which is great for interior furniture, but for exterior furniture, you can't build the finish up there, and that's generally where the finish is going to fail. So with that, I took the tabletop off the table, brought it out here, and I wasn't able to use a router to round it off because I didn't have enough material on the side for the ball bearing, so I just used the orbital sander, rounded over the edge of that tabletop, applied a few coats of finish with a rag just because the raw wood was really sucking in the finish. And after doing that about 3 or 4 times, then I gave the top a light sanding and gave that another coat. I didn't apply another coat to the legs or the apron because it just didn't need it. The top on an outdoor table really acts like a roof. And another thing I want to mention is whenever I make an outdoor tabletop, I add a drip edge to the bottom of the tabletop. And what that does is any water that rolls off the tabletop gets stopped before it goes underneath the table. It hits that drip edge and falls to the ground. I built that in 2022, so that was the first coat of finish. And I refinished it in October of this year, or I did that rounding over and light sanding another coat. And again, that tabletop I expect to do very well. You know, also it's made out of natural mahogany, which is a good choice for an exterior project. But I also plan to give that another coat in the fall of 2024. And the last project probably did the worst, mainly because it was getting a little, almost, I don't want to say abuse, but more than once I would see my kids with their sneakers on the edge of the table, and on the bottom of their sneakers, because it's a brick patio, of course there's going to be sand, and that's going to break the finish. So I've talked to them about not doing that. And also that tabletop has had a sharp edge. So I took that tabletop off, which originally was built and finished in June of 2023, and used the router to put a round over on the top of the top. And the bottom of the top already had a little bit of a round over, and then again, applied the finish to where the roundover was added, and then scuffed up the top and gave it another coat. So after a few years of working with outdoor projects and trying to find a finish that will hold up, I think the best experiences I've had so far is with the Total Boat Gleam Spar Varnish. Remember to use the gloss first for at least your first 3 to 4 coats. Originally, I was trying to use a penetrating oil finish, like a teak oil. I didn't really have any luck with that. This tabletop with the red grandness and the sapele, originally I finished that with the teak oil. Within about 6 months, it just didn't look good. It looked dirty. There wasn't a good way to clean it. My thought process there was I could just add another coat of teak oil on it from time to time and that would maintain it, but that's not really how it worked. So I ended up power washing that off, just power washing the table, sanding it, and that's when I applied the Total Boat Gleam Spar Varnish. So that's how they're doing. A lot of people have asked me on Instagram how the tables are holding up, and they're doing great. But with outdoor furniture, you just have to remember you are going to have to maintain them. It's not one of these things like a piece of furniture in your home where you finish it and it's good to go for at least, 10 years. So that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
I'd like to remind you of all the woodworking plans available on my website. With a large variety of furniture projects, shop projects, and outdoor projects, all with free video tutorials right here on YouTube, I'm sure you'll find something that'll inspire you to spend more time in the shop. So I hope that you'll click on the link in the description below and let me help you with your next woodworking project.